I became an atheist after my son died after being an agnostic my whole life. I was furious when others said my son was with Jesus. I said, "I'll tell you about your Jesus. Your Jesus kills little children." I didn't believe in God and loathed him. I didn't want that. Due to my broken background, I never believed in God. Due to my dad's profession, we relocated across the country with alcoholic parents. My father was angry and unpleasant, so we couldn't talk to him. This increased my insecurities. My teen years were filled with rebellion and trouble. I married, had 2 sons, and had a psychological breakdown at 21. I didn't know better due to my abusive alcoholic husband. I suppose. I once moved my sons from Kansas City to Seattle. We moved into Seattle government housing, and I worked. We were glad to leave Kansas City's terrible circumstances. I married a man eventually. He was amazing and loved my 2 sons, making us happy. He was handsome, steady, owned a home, drove a nice car, and wasn't drunk. He was smart, kind, and gorgeous. Our lives was lovely and going great. He bought a pub with a pal during the marriage. I didn't like drinking, but I couldn't stop him from chasing his goal. Never worked in the tavern, but I did 1 week during a promotion. I left the house after kissing my boys. I entered the tavern to find it packed. Doug, my husband, was bending over the phone, talking earnestly. Soon he hung up the phone, grabbed my arm, and pushed me out the door, stating my son Mark was hit by a car. We rushed to hospital. A doctor ran out, asking how it happened, but I didn't know. Mark was taken from the ambulance and brought inside. We were sent to a room for hours of tedious waiting. After walking down the corridor, looking out the window, I noticed cars moving by and couldn't understand how people could start a new day when the hospital was anything but regular. I heard hallway footsteps. When I turned around, a doctor remarked, "I'm sorry, but we were unable to save Mark." We entered his frigid chamber. His eye was tearful as I kissed him under the blankets. I kissed his tear and said, "Marky, everything will be all right because Mommy's here, and Mommy can fix anything, right?" It was strange. Then I fell. I don't remember much after that save being carried out of the hospital at daybreak, walking on wobbly legs and not wanting to go home since I couldn't tolerate Mark's belongings. But we had to, and my other son Chris was at the house. He was with Mark when the automobile hit. Chris was left behind as everyone ran to Mark. He saw the horror and walked home to notify the babysitter. When I arrived, he raced up and asked, "Mommy, did you hear what happened to Mark?" I told him the doctors couldn't heal Marky. Chris rushed screaming into his bedroom and was changed forever. The situation was terrible for him. We lost Mark, and I withdrew. I didn't want to leave the house, talk to people, or live anymore. I mostly stared out the window and did what was necessary. I felt like my life was finished after we lost Mark. My lifelong assaults left me unhappy. After meeting my husband, Don, I enjoyed 1 year of bliss, but after Mark died, things went bad again. All my childhood insecurities returned. I thought Don was too good for me and had many negative feelings. My behavior grew unpleasant, and our marriage began to suffer. We had a difficult time, but that's usual in marriages after a kid dies. Don wanted me to leave the house and go on, but I couldn't. He planned a night out, and I argued with him not to go. He insisted. We started picking at each other as we left. In the car, the fighting escalated. I lost control and yelled at him while driving down the interstate. He continued, "Pat, you need to move on." I snapped, screamed across the seat, and slapped him, crying, "I'll never move on. Don't talk to me like that." I was thrown back across the car in return. The impact to my upper back ruptured a jelly-like sac surrounding my liver. My liver broke, causing significant internal bleeding. Unaware at the moment. After Don drove us home, I went inside as he splashed water on his face in the bathroom. I grabbed the car keys and drove off, as I often did when angry or scared. I wasn't sure if my pain was from a broken heart or something else. Half crawling up the driveway, I got home. Don was angry with me at the door. As I passed him, I informed him I needed to go to the hospital because something was seriously wrong. He took me to the hospital after believing me. We waited for doctor tests. In the late 1960s, they didn't have CAT scans or MRIs, so they used my blood pressure and other testing to detect the condition. My count dropped dramatically, and they knew I had internal bleeding, but didn't know why or how. The doctor asked me how I got the back bruise. Don was not a wife-beater, therefore I didn't want anyone to assume he hit me. I didn't say anything since I feared they'd hurt him. Finally, they told me I needed surgery immediately. I was afraid on the gurney, wondering, who are you guys? Am I going to die? What's wrong? There was no time to talk. Don leaned over the gurney and told me he loved me as they wheeled me down the corridor. I was astonished because I didn't think he liked or loved me anymore. I kept it in mind during surgery. The physicians and nurses hovering over me covered my face with a mask. I should have had anesthesia, but I didn't. I heard them until everything went black and the voices ended. I panicked because I couldn't breathe, like being pulled underwater and attempting to breathe. Breathing felt like bursting. I moved through the darkness into a tunnel. I kept thinking I needed to breathe, but I couldn't, and I realized I didn't. It was strange, but okay. I spotted my husband Don and my other 2 sons crying around a lamppost in the rain as I passed through the tunnel. They feared I had perished. I wanted to say, no, I didn't die. I'm right here. I'm okay. I don't know how I knew they'd be okay. I was at peace and moved on. 4 people appeared to my left. They were humans who appeared worried about me, not angels. I didn't understand their anxiety. I didn't recognize them, and we didn't talk. Maybe distant relatives or someone I knew, but I wasn't sure. I passed these worrying figures and continued on without seeing my dead son. I heard a terrible sound. A horrible noise like a freight train crashing on me followed my thinking, there is no God. Something burned and tore through my chest like a 100 miles per hour rope. It ceased and I believed in God. I had been an agnostic my whole life and became a genuine atheist when my son died because I was so upset when others told me he was with Jesus. I yelled, I'll tell you about Jesus. Your Jesus kills kids. I despised God and did not believe in him. I didn't want that. I was spiritually there. I felt like I had never felt before, knowing that God existed, though I can't articulate how. It was like holding my hand in front of me and knowing it was mine. No doubt, it was a profound tranquility without death, dying, or dread. Euphoric, wonderful setting. I can't explain such experiences either, and I suppose people attempt but fail. Great spot to be. It occurred to me that heaven does not exist. I moved towards structure-bound brilliance. I knew I was headed to heaven. I wanted to stay there so much that I would have left my husband, children, and everything else. Not to seem selfish, but I knew I was intended to be there. The realization that this was right and beautiful was striking. After thinking there is no hell, the same awful noise and tearing through my skin occurred. It felt like the elevator floor dropped out. I fell into darkness. No, it was awful. I knew I was there because I blasphemed and rejected God. I felt like I sent myself there. I understood that humans choose to go to hell, not God. This was my choice. Burning anguish accompanied my descent into darkness. I said, God, I believe in you. So sorry. Please save me. It felt like God wasn't in this area, like if I didn't exist. I was terrified, plunging into darkness alone, screaming for escape, knowing no one could help me, even God, though I believed he would. Thankfully, I was mistaken. God heard me. I screamed, save me from here. I trust you and want that tranquility back. It stopped. I spiraled back through the tube to the start. I felt my spirit return to my body and heard, bring people to me. I woke up in the surgical room to doctors working hard. That started it. Though perplexed, I gained confidence. I knew what occurred to me. I only wanted confirmation that it happened to someone else or was real. I went to my doctor since I didn't know where to go. I told him what happened, and he seemed confused. You can't be under general anesthesia and have hallucinations or dreams. Your brain is not functioning. He explained the mental separation but couldn't answer. A Catholic priest was furious when I went. He asked, what do you think happened to you? A miracle. Why would you think that? And left, slamming the door. I couldn't find help. God told me to bring people to him, but I didn't know how. As an agnostic, I knew nothing about religion. The Bible I picked up was Greek. I wondered why they wrote a New Testament since the Old Testament was fine. Nothing made sense, which was annoying. I joined church. The only Catholic church I knew had 6 a.m. doors, so I headed there. I would go there to pray and be with God, not to attend Mass. I left the Catholic Church to attend an evangelical Bible church because I needed to learn more. I understood the Bible when someone explained it. I understood the teachings in Jesus' day. Despite not being religious, I feel connected to God and Jesus Christ. I think many of us are led that way. I'm not religious because I think religion hurts people and has done bad things. I worship God and attend church because I cherish the company of like-minded believers. I trust the Bible because it gives me wisdom, teaching, and guidance. My highlighted, note-filled Bible is highly knowledgeable. I think it has been changed to fit human expectations of God and spirituality. Who knows the ultimate truth? The Bible gave me peace, insight, and the strength to conquer numerous obstacles. Others share my loss, poverty, and other problems. This now gives me security. I assume I met Dr. Grayson through the IAN. How I contacted him is unknown, but we started talking. He sent me questionnaires and called me in the late 70s or early 80s to research my situation. This partnership lasted 20 years. Sometimes, when I thought it was over, he sent me another questionnaire. Thus, Dr. Grayson and I got close. He sent my book and gave me a lot. Knowing that what occurred to me is true, and that I have scientific answers to questions gives me confidence. Near-death experiences differ from mediums, reincarnation, and other paranormal events. Scientific study and many commonalities support them. Due to human nature, we don't all follow the same path, although the phenomena is reported. Greatly appreciate Dr. Grayson's work, and thank God. I believe God gives us life will. I felt this will as my spirit re-entered my body before returning to the surgical room after my near-death experience. As my spirit rejoined my body, I felt a bodily sensation and wanted to live. I'll probably keep alive as long as I have the will to live. Somewhat curious about death. My near-death experiences include a water skiing mishap that should have killed me. Despite nearly tearing my leg off, I felt no pain. Following these encounters, I feel dying is not painful, regardless of injury severity. I worry being separated from my family, my sons and husband, but I know we're all heading to the same destination. Everything is in order, and I'm at peace with God and life. My life is good now. I tell terminally sick people they are loved beyond measure, and that death is merely a door to something great. Please check their relationship with God. Some are receptive, others not. I wanted to intervene in a talk with a stubborn man, but I couldn't. Unsure what happened to him. We await something amazing beyond our wildest dreams. Any near-death experiencer can attest that it's indescribable. I don't think hell is scary. Instead, they should commune with God. If you let God in, He will guide you and give you ultimate guidance. I go straight to God, not saints, angels, or middlemen. Why go through everything else? I talk to Him and believe He leads me daily. I believe God will help me transition after death. So enjoy life and don't worry about dying. Each of us is terminal, therefore you're not alone. Our journey will be shared. Knowing and pleasing God is the easiest way to handle it. That will bring peace and alleviate death anxiety.